Today we're going to discuss adding complex numbers. Okay, so first let's define what a complex number is.
The phone died. The phone died.
A complex number is going to be a number that can be expressed in the standard form. So again, standard form is one of those important kind of a vocab word in a vocab word. Standard form a plus bi. Okay. Important to know is that the a and the b are part of the real number system. And then also that the I is that imaginary number, square root of -1. Okay? So, in that standard form, a plus bi, we consider the a the real part. Of the complex number. And b, not bi, but just the b part, just the coefficient in front of I, is the imaginary part. Okay? We never leave an imaginary number in the form of a plus bi divided by c. That's a big no-no. We never leave it like that. It's always going to be split up into the real part and the imaginary part. Okay? So instead of doing that, we can turn it into this. A over c plus b over ci. Okay? So just do that and then reduce your fraction. Okay? Any complex number that is not a real number is called imaginary, whether it's in the form a plus bi or just bi. So, the question is, are the numbers 5 and -7i complex numbers? The answer is yes, because you can write them in standard form. So for example, -5, if we were to write it in standard form, the real part is the -5, right? It just has a 0 in front of the imaginary part, because 0 times anything is just 0, right? So -5 plus 0 is -5, which leads us back to -5. And -7i, that's also a complex number because we can write it in standard form. We have 0 for the real part minus 7i, right? Because plus -7i. There we go. So both of those are complex numbers because they can be rewritten in standard form, okay? So for this one, a would have been 5, right? And b would have been 0. In this case, our a was 0 and our b was -7. Okay? Let's talk about adding. Okay? So let's do example 1. So when you're adding complex number, just think of it as combining like terms. So for example, 3 plus 2i plus 5 minus 4i. We can actually go ahead and drop the parentheses and just combine like terms. So 3 and 5 can combine, and 2i and minus 4i can combine. So 3 plus 5 plus 2i minus 4i, right? So 3 plus 5 is 8. And then 2i minus 4i, think of it like this, 2 minus 4 is -2, so -2i. So that would be our final answer. Make sure that it's in standard form so the I part comes second, right? All right, let's do an example where we're subtracting. And subtracting is the same thing. You're going to combine like terms. However, it's very important, just like when we combine like terms and we're subtracting before, we need to distribute the subtraction as a negative. So let's do this example 2, where we have 5 minus 3i minus 2 plus 6i. Before we can do anything, we distribute this negative. So we get 5 minus 3i minus 2 minus 6i. So when we combine like terms, we're combining 5 minus 2, negative 3i minus 6i. So 5 minus 2 is 3, negative 3i minus 6i. Well, negative 3 minus 6 is negative 9, so we get negative 9i. And that would be our final answer. All right, so I've shown you standard form and how to add and subtract. You're going to go ahead and try 2 through 6 evens.